Hi guys! I think last week's video was way too geeky for some people, so you'll be glad to know that this week I'm taking you on a completely different kind of adventure. As you may know, I am a huge fan of tattoos and body modification in general, but I also appreciate the value of not putting needles into every inch of skin that you have, because it kind of makes getting a job a lot harder. So I do try to resist the temptation to colourfully mutilate my body as often as I can, but by the time November rolled around I was officially sick of waiting, so the time came for tattoo number 3. This time I chose to get a Japanese cherry blossom for several reasons. 1, let's face it, they're pretty. 2, they're obviously representative of Japan, which I have a huge affection for, what with all the Japanese anime, manga, games, music, cuisine and all sorts of other things I love. 3, I have a huge affinity with nature, and the Japanese cherry blossom is certainly a beautiful representation of it. In fact, it's been a long-held tradition in Japan for friends and family to gather under the trees and appreciate both the beauty and the people around them, which is nice. And 4, I've mentioned before how I think that everyone has elements of both genders inside of them and should celebrate that. And to me, the Japanese cherry blossom encapsulates both masculinity in the dark branches and femininity in the pink flowers. So that's why I chose the cherry blossom, but I also went for a different approach with this tattoo. My first two were obviously done with the modern electric tattoo machine, but for this tattoo I decided to use one of the oldest, most traditional ways of tattooing that's still practiced today and doesn't involve machines at all. Oh, and it's mostly associated with, you guessed it, Japan. Time for a little education. Traditional Japanese tattoos are done with handheld needles, or in ancient times sharpened bones, tapping the ink into the skin one dot at a time. This hand-poked method, known in Japan as Tebori, is quite time-consuming but hurts a little less than electric tattooing. And because the outlines and shading are so delicate and subtle, it produces some truly beautiful tattoos that often look like paintings right on the skin. I knew I had to get the cherry blossom done in this style because it's the perfect way to capture the fragility of the flowers and the organic movement of nature. And thankfully, I knew of just the person to do it. Nico is an awesome hand-poke tattoo artist who's crazy versatile in the styles she can do, as you can see, so I knew straight off that she could really bring the cherry blossom to life. Since the design was something that has a lot of natural fluidity to it, she decided to freehand the design straight onto my skin rather than conform to a rigid template. And then the fun commenced. Of course, everyone has different pain thresholds, so your personal experience will probably be different, but for me, I found it as painful as an electric tattoo, but I think that was because of the placement. Turns out your shoulder blade is actually pretty sensitive, but if it had been a more fleshy part of the body, for example an arm or something, it probably would have hurt less. If you're easily spooked by noise, it's a lot better without the menacing buzz of the machine, and you don't get the vibration either. The tattoo took just over 2 hours in total, which was quicker than I was expecting, but that turned out to be a good thing, because my tolerance for pain isn't the best, so by the time we were closing in on the 2nd hour, my skin was like, okay, I am done with this now. But it was totally worth it, because now I have a pretty cherry blossom on my back. You wanna see? Time to get naked. Da -da -da -da. As you can see, it's more of a painting style cherry blossom than a realistic one, but the shapes of the flowers and branches are still pretty true to nature. I especially like how delicate the flowers look, because there's no harsh outline, which is what makes hand-poke tattooing really effective. And the good thing about trees is you can just keep adding new branches to it, so I could expand across the rest of my shoulders if I wanted to. What do you guys think? I reckon it turned out pretty good. And here's a super fast montage of the whole thing since my mum was randomly taking photos. So there you have it. Oh, now I'm gonna have to force myself not to get another one for a few years. Take a look in the description for Nico's details if you ever want to get a hand-poke tattoo yourself, because she is definitely the girl for the job. I've also put a link to the shop she worked in, because it's an awesome place filled with super friendly people, and the guy who owns it does some crazy tattoos, so if you're into it, please clickety-click and check those out. Okay, time to get creaming. Not like that. Bye.